friends, it's Terri Gaines, independent demonstrator with Stampin Up. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share all the details to assemble my March 2025 Fun Fold project. Each month I have a different Fun Fold project, and for customers who place a qualifying order, I mail them a packet with all the materials for a main card, all the materials for a miniature card that are cut and scored and ready to assemble. You do need to use your own stamps, ink, adhesive, and a few tools to assemble them. This video is to give you all the details so you can assemble your packet. You know how I created the packet, so you can duplicate the cards, or you can use different product to recreate this Fun Fold. At the end of the video, I have additional samples using different product using the same Fun Fold. My inspiration for this month's Fun Fold was from my January 2025 Fun Fold card, and this is the Fun Fold card. I will put a link to this blog post and YouTube video, because on that blog post and in the YouTube video, I have several other samples that I created using this Fun Fold. Now, my January Fun Fold was inspired by Fun Folds that are created like this, where you score your cardstock, then you make a couple cuts, then you score these two panels the same and this panel different. I'm not a fan of these types where you have all this extra cutting. You can see probably I scored this panel incorrectly as I'm recreating this. And when you fold it like this, it's going to be the same thing for this. But my Fun Fold has a brace in there versus cutting, and you don't have these extra tails like this. You just have an extra panel that you can sign the back of your card, have your inside sentiment. So as I mentioned, that was my inspiration for this card. This card has that same type of Fun Fold, but you also have a full panel. It displays very well. One additional thing I need to share about this Fun Fold versus this one, your panel has to be flat to the edge of your card, otherwise the card's going to topple. For this card, our decorative element can be right in the center because this is helping the card stand. So I'm super excited to share this new Fun Fold with you, and I am calling it a Z Fold. We have a Z Fold here, decorative panel pop-out card. So let's get started. As I mentioned, the packet's going to include all the materials for both cards, and I'm going to go over the materials I use for your packet. So first in here are the smaller pieces for both the main card and the mini card. I'm going to set those aside first. The Lost Lagoon pieces are for the mini card, including this designer series paper. This designer series paper is from the January scrapbooking brochure. That's an online brochure. This paper is called Everyday Happiness. You get three different double-sided designs. Those dimensional backings are static and they cling to everything. But this is the paper, three different double-sided designs, and you get 4 each of these, so you get 12 in the packet, and that's where this designer series paper is from. The PDF that I email you has all the materials that I used and the measurements, the photos of the project, so you can recreate these cards. This designer series paper is for the main card, and that is from the Wildflower Birthday 12 by 12 specialty paper. So you have this print in your packet. You're going to set that aside for the main card. In this packet, you have these 4 different double-sided designs, 12 by 12, 2 each of these sheets. You get 2 each of this 12 by 12 design. This is the front side and this is the back side. And then you get 2 each of the die cuts of these beautiful images. I'm going to show you a card that I created with this Fun Fold using this element. But this is absolutely beautiful. That is the Wildflower Birthday specialty paper. You have a couple panels. One is texturized. These are for the main cards. I texturized that ahead of time for you using the 3D embossing folder called Exposed to Brick, and it just gives it a subtle. I only texturized one of these. One is for the front or the decorative part of the card, and one is for your inside sentiment and where you would sign your card. Then you have your brace. You have the card base. We'll talk about that in a moment. And these are the mini cards pieces there. So that's what we have for that part of the packet. In here, I have separated the smaller pieces for your main card. We have a gold butterfly for the main card, and this packet's for the main card. This one is for the mini card. We have in here 2 1 3/4 inch circles. I'm going to stamp one of them. You have a little element or decorative gem. These gems are the rainbow adhesive back dots. You have a bow punch from Lost Lagoon. You have a petal park flowers from the designer series paper, a 2-inch circle, and another 1 3/4. I'm taking the 1 3/4 one out because that's the one I want to stamp. In this packet, we have nested essential die pieces. We have 2, these I'm calling the decorative panel. I made these smaller. With my January fun fold, I made those panels larger. So those are for the main card. And then you have some butterfly die cuts. So you have 2 of those, and you have 2 of these. I'm going to set these 2 out because I'm going to stamp on those also. These gold butterflies, I use the Beautiful Butterflies dies for those. These are in the January through April mini catalog. I use this, cut it out of gold foil sheet. I also have this butterfly cut out, and then I have 1 of each of these. And before I cut those out, I put the adhesive sheet behind my gold foil. You cut your adhesive sheet, which is 6 by 12 in size. You get 12 of these in a packet. I cut my foil sheet to the size I want. I put the adhesive sheet on the back of it. You peel off a backing, put it on, and then you die cut from the front. Now these 2 little pieces have adhesive sheet on for you. So I'm going kind of quickly just to kind of give you a rundown of what is in your packet and how I prepared those. So that's how we prepared everything. So as I mentioned, you need to use your own stamps and ink. I am going to be stamping this one, which is in the front of the card with the hello from the Beautiful Butterflies. And then I'm going to stamp for the inside. I'm going to stamp You Are Remarkable in every single way from You Are Remarkable stamp set. This is brand new. This is in Stampin' Up's new March online exclusives. Stampin' Up just released these, and this is a new stamp set. I will have this PDF flyer. You can find it on my blog. To find my blog post for this video is look in the text portion of this video. There'll be a link to my blog post to see my additional photos, and I will give you the measurements for the card base and the brace. The rest of the PDF is only sent to customers who place an order or a qualifying order. So let's talk about these pieces. I already shared, I stamped one with that. I used the Blueberry Bushel ink. I love that our inks coordinate with our cardstock. If you happen not to have Blueberry Bushel, you can use a black ink or a basic gray, which is great neutral colors to use. So that's how I stamped those 2. So I'm going to replace that. This circle, I didn't bring the stamp set over, but I used a stamp set in the annual catalog, and it is called Happiest Birthday, and I used Lost Lagoon ink to stamp that. So that's the stamping if you choose to stamp a sentiment before we start our assembly. The other things you want to have handy is some double-sided adhesive, and I don't think we need a paper snips, but I have that handy. We do want a bone folder. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, some mini glue dots, some dimensionals, and I always try to keep my silicone craft mat on hand. So those are what we need to start our assembly. The beauty of this YouTube video is tutorial is you can stop and rewind. You can stop and get caught up to the step that I am at, and you can rewatch it as many times as you would like. And my goal here is to give you every detail to assemble your card, to know how I prepared the packet, as I mentioned, and also so you can be successful creating your packets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these decorative images off to the side here, and we're going to start with this card base. We'll assemble the small card after we assemble the main card. So this is already scored for you. Your postcard in your PDF gives you all the measurements, and I have folded it like this to put it in your packet. Well, this is the 00. This is where I started scoring it. Now I do want to let you know that when you fold, let me rephrase that. This is cut the longer way, or it's cut across the grain. So if you cut your cardstock in half and you fold it, you can fold it and use a bone folder to crease it. When you cut it in this direction, you do have to score it. I already scored it for you, but I want to tell you a tip. I scored it in this fashion, then I flipped it like this and scored it in the other fashion. And my goal for doing that, so the cardstock in your packet, I scored both sides. And the reason I do that is we score to burnish it, so when you fold it, you don't get that cracking of your cardstock. Well, this is folding in a Z fold, and that means one is folding one direction, the other is folding another direction. And so I scored both sides to help burnish. So when you fold this, we're going to start with this one. This one is going to be a valley. So fold it and just softly do this before you do your bone folder. We're trying not to get cracking, and that's because the cardstock is against the grain. And then it's a valley, a mountain, and a valley. So it's folded this way, and then I'm going to bring in my bone folder. So valley, mountain, valley. So we have it folded like this. The next thing we're going to do is adhere these panels. We're going to put this decorative panel, or I think I call it a decorative panel. Yeah, I do. Decorative panel. And this one I call decorative layer, I'm sorry, 2. So I put this one on first, and I look for equal spacing in all of these directions or edges. And I tend to place it equal spacing, on the top, the edge, and the side. And then I let this one fall into place here. So we have that. Then what I'm going to do is fold it like the Z and take this decorative here. So this is your fold. So you have your fold here, so valley, mountain, valley. And then I put this one on. I put this one on second so I can kind of look at this one to line that up and use my double-sided adhesive. And we'll just get that on first, bring this back in. Now I'm going to try to do equal spacing on all 4 sides of this panel, but also kind of look up here to see that I get that level and place that down like so. Now that doesn't happen very often where it looks like this pattern goes in like that. So every piece is going to be different, but that kind of lined up. But sadly, we're going to cover that up. That won't matter. So now what I'm going to do is open this up, and right on this panel is where I'm going to put the texturized one with that exposed brick textured design on it. Now, it's a personal decision which side you want to be the front, and you're going to be good with either side. Some embossing folders kind of are more obvious which might be the back or the front, but this one is perfect either way. So just make a personal decision on what is the front of that and what is the back, and attach that. So that's what we have there so far. Now what I'm going to do, and I am moving quickly, but I already told you that you can pause the video, you can rewind the video, and rewatch it as many times as you would like. So the next step I'm going to do is adhere both of these to the blueberry bushel, and the hello is going to be the front. I'm going to put that one, these are identical, so I'm going to adhere that one like so, and then look for equal spacing on all the different sides, and I'm going to put adhesive on this one. Okay, now I'm going to put this one on first, and how I choose to do this is I'm going to put equal spacing on both sides and then equal spacing on the top and bottom. So just place this right in the center. You want to put this decorative image on first, and this, as I mentioned, is going to be this is a sentiment, like you open up the card and you see a sentiment. I'm choosing not to sign the card right here, and I'm choosing not to sign the card right here. I gave you another panel that I'm calling the sentiment layer that I'm going to put on the back. So if I put it here, when you close the card, you don't see it. And this is where I'm going to sign the card. You turn it over and see it in the back. So that's what this layer is for. And I've chosen not to stamp this. I'll just write a message when I send this to get somebody. So I'm going to just fold it like this and put that in. So that's where the sentiment layer goes. Now what we have left are our decorative images, our brace, and our decorative panel. Now on this brace, you already have some score lines, and we're going to take that first score line, and it doesn't matter what side you start with because this is equal to this. We're going to do a valley, a mountain, and a valley. You're going to create this form, and we're going to take our bone folder and crease that. As I mentioned, this is the brace that's going to hold this image on, or that panel on. So like I mentioned, you can pause this and rewind it. And I feel like I'm moving kind of quickly, so apologize on any of that. So we have this piece like this. So now what I'm going to do is open this up and put adhesive right on this end panel. Again, valley, mountain, adhesive here, and then I'm going to put adhesive here. Now, in the measurements I give you a max or minimum size and maximum size for this panel. And basically, it's going to cover up this area here and stay within the outline of the card. So if you want your panel to be even smaller, make this smaller or narrower. So now what I'm going to do, adhesive on both sides, I'm going to bring the adhesive back to back and push this down and create an upside down T. So I have an upside down T like that. And now what I'm going to do is hold this first V. You know, when you open up the card, this little V shape here, these ends are going to go right to this. So I'm going to hold this like this, and maybe it's hard to see because it's the same color as the card base, but I purposely want it the same color. So you put this like this, adhesive is here and here, and I like to just hold it in here, put those ends down, and then close this V onto the adhesive. And that's how I like to attach it. And then you have your fold that opens like that. So then it folds like this, it goes flat like this, your card closes, and this lays like this. Now you're going to take this adhesive, or your adhesive, put it on this panel, and now we're going to cover this up. Now I gave you this panel and this panel, they're the very same size, shape, or size. So we're going to cover that up and go like that. And now you have your panel attached, and it opens up and displays like this. So I'm calling this the Z Fold panel, decorative panel pop-out card. And as I mentioned earlier, this is in the center and it's going to stand, it's not going to topple, and it displays beautifully when you give it to the person you're giving it to. So let's do some additional decorating. So I gave you these little butterflies. This little butterfly we're going to put right in this corner, and this butterfly has no adhesive sheet on the back, so we're going to attach it with a mini glue dot. I just use just one glue dot on the back of this. If they're strong enough, we'll be good with that. And I'm going to let you also know that you've got to stay within the halfway mark of this. You do not want, I don't know that you want your butterfly over here because you can only see part of it. So make sure your butterfly is tucked over here. And let me just share kind of maybe what we should do. I want to give you all the learning lessons. If I place this right here, any added image you want to stay on this side so it's not peeking through when you close your card. So I want to make sure you know that, and that's why I put the butterfly over here. Now I also shared with you that I put adhesive sheet on the back of this so you can peel the backing off, and now we have adhesive on that. And now I'm going to place this down and cover up that, or go right in the center of that, the butterfly wings. So that is on there. Now I pre-stamped this. Now you could choose to not stamp here. You could choose to put your butterfly on this way. I'm actually going to turn it a little bit this way. As long as my wings stay within the border of the card, will be good. So I'm going to attach this with a couple mini glue dots. So I'm going to just bring this to the mini glue dot, and I'm going to do 2 on this one. And the center of this butterfly is a little bit narrower than my mini glue dot, and that's okay, because then what I'll do is I'll just turn it over and roll the mini glue dot up so it's not exposed through those openings. And again, I'm going to make sure the wings stay within the card, and I'm going to place mine sideways like that. Attach it. This has adhesive on the back, so we can take these off and place this down like this. So that is the main card. So this is just such a fun card to give. As I mentioned, I have some additional samples to share with you on how you can use this fun fold with different designs of papers and products. So now we're going to do the mini card. As I mentioned, I might be going way too fast, but you can pause and replay as you put your packet together. So we're going to start out with, let's empty this little packet here. We've got our decorative images, and we're going to attach this not unstamped circle to the Las Lagoon circle. I'm going to go ahead and do that first. And I think that's the only layering we have for this project. So we have that. And now let's talk about this. It's already scored. The narrow panel is what we have on the left. And we're going to do our valley, mountain, valley fold. So we have our Z fold here, and we'll burnish that with our bone folder. And then when you have your designer series paper, you have some decisions to make. Which side of the paper you use. You could use that side or that side. You could use this side or that side. Now, I am going to use the floral side here, and I'm going to continue to use this, but you can change that up. That's the beauty of the double-sided designer paper. So I'm going to put my adhesive on the back of this and look for equal spacing. I tend, as I mentioned earlier, to look for equal spacing on the the edge of the top and the bottom. And if this isn't quite equal, it camouflages into that side. It's not obvious. Then I fold this, and then I adhere this onto that piece. So I can look at my alignment on the top and the bottom. You also want to look for equal spacing on all 4 sides of this panel. So let's see if I can get this straight. I have a different view with the camera, so I don't quite see the right angle I need to, but I think that looks good. So that's what we want to do for this, is do our Z fold, attach this panel and this panel. Now I did give you these panels. So this one you can adhere to the inside. Neither one of these are texturized, but they're going to represent that you can add a panel here. And then you can add a panel in the back where you would have your inside or your message to who you're giving it to. And you can have another sentiment stamped. So I've got those pieces left. So we have our decorative images, our brace, and these two pieces. Now on the main card, these two panels were identical in size. If they're not identical in size, the inside one needs to be smaller and the outside one is larger. So I adhered these together. So that's the outside and this is the inside. So I'm going to always attach the inside one first, because that's going to give me my guide to placing the outside one. So I'm just going to place this right in the center. It's smaller than this one, so we're good. Now I'm going to attach the brace. It is already scored for you, so it's going to be folded to be a valley, mountain, mountain, valley. So you're going to fold it like this, and then go ahead and take your bone folder and burnish those. And that just helps break down those fibers and will help it retain some of this shape that we're trying to create. So you create that. Now I open it up, I put adhesive here and adhesive here, just on this panel and that panel. The center 3 panels have no adhesive. Okay. So adhesive here and adhesive here. And then I call this an upside down T because you're putting back to back adhesive here and adhesive here and pushing that down so you can hold on to that. Then you're going to take this panel, create this V, and now this is about in the center, so I want this to be in the center, meaning equal spacing here and here. I'm going to hold that V, get those ends of that to just push that down. Then you can burnish that, and that's how this is going to get attached. Now you've got that attached, and then you fold this, and this automatically folds like that. Now you can see that I got really close. I'm not the center here and the center here, but I eyeballed it, but that's okay because I'm still able to cover this up. So I'm going to put my adhesive right here, just on that flat panel. And now my goal is to cover up that inside circle and to try to get that in the center. Press down to burnish it. Now that is attached like so. So that is the mini card base, and let's do some assembly. What I'm going to do is take this and just lay it across here. It needs to stay within that border of the card. And I'm going to take 1 dimensional and hold down that stem. I'm not going to worry about the rest of that getting attached. I'm going to take the backing off of this. Now you need to decide, do you want this, how do you want these 2 flowers? Do you want it like this, or you want to rotate them or flip them, put the other side? You have choices here. I'm going to keep that for that side. I'm going to take this one and put this one on with a mini glue dot. And put that one down. And then I have one of these embellishments. These I mentioned are the rainbow adhesive. They're in the the annual catalog. And I'm going to place that right on there. Oops, I didn't get that centered. Goodness. That's part of how crafting goes, but you can move that up and get that better placement. Now this is your miniature card for the instruction postcard that I mailed you. The reason I do these mini cards is if you give this card away to somebody and you want to recreate it, you have the measurements, the instructions, a link to this video, and a mini card that's going to remind you how this fun fold card looks. So I hope you enjoyed my March fun fold. As I mentioned, it's a packet I'll mail to you with qualifying order. Now this is using the very same product for the paper, and this is one of those embellishments that I told you. Now I also shared with you that you can change the brace piece. I don't know if it's obvious here. Maybe if I hold it like that, I changed it really narrow so it hides behind this element, and you don't need a die cut behind it. It's just the bouquet of flowers. I used the exposed brick, and I have that popping up. Now here you can see I moved this decorative image way over to the side. I did that little trick where I closed it. I placed something here that told me I don't want anything exposed here. Whatever I attach has to be in this area. So when you close the card, it's hidden. And when you open it up, you've got designer series paper here as a decorative element and then you'd sign the back of the card. So really love how that one turned out. Very same paper as this one. Now this next card I'm going to share with you, I used some new online exclusives. I used the Textured Notes stamp set and the dies. They're bundled together for a 10% savings. Look at these beautiful images on the rectangle dies. You got all these different sketchings or images. I hope you can see that. So I've used these dies for several of the samples I'm going to share with you next. And then I also used the coordinating designer series paper. So as you can see, I used those dies, I used the Memento ink, and I decided not to put anything there. So when this card displays, you have your two sentiments and then you have that back to sign. And this paper is, oh, it's in that suite. I forgot the name of it. Oh, I'll just look right here. Botanical Textures, 12 by 12. You get 2 of these designs, 2 of this design, and this just became available the March 4th. 2 of this one. Look at these great backgrounds too. And this is so versatile because you can add it with any color. And some of these papers you could even color in. And that's what I did for my next sample. So you get 2 each of these 12 by 12 designs. And for the next sample, I used this paper, and I used the stamp set that I used one of my sentiments from. I used this stamp set, and as I mentioned, this is the sentiment I used here. And I colored that paper in with blends, and I did the 2-step stamping with ink on that. So, and I just love that sentiment too. So this card closes like this. You open it up, and then I put a decorative layer here instead of a panel, and that's where you can sign your card. And I did not put anything on the inside or the back. So that's another idea. And I think I'll just leave these out here. Now this next idea is using a new stamp bundle, the Thankful Garden bundle, which is a stamp set and dies. Plus you get the mask. This is how I colored in with the mask, and I use a blending brush to color these in. You get 5 different masks, 3 layers for the flowers and 2 layers for the greenery. And then you get these sentiments, all of these images that can be cut out. This flower is the same flower in this stamp set, or this stamped, but one die will cut out just that flower and another die will cut out that. Same thing here, one die will cut out this and one die will cut out 3 of those petals. So this is what I used for the next sample, and I colored my flowers in with blends, and I just did the balmy blue and the soft sea foam color. I used those rectangle dies that I just shared with you. I used the exposed brick folder. I did a little added here, and this is what I designed for this product. And I just love how versatile this fun fold is. And also to mention, I added an extra layer. I have the balmy blue, the basic black, and the white, just to get that pop of color. And I chose not to put anything right there. So this is another sample. And then my last sample is using the Floral Delight 12 by 12 paper. This is in Stampin' Up's January through April mini catalog. You get 2 each of these beautiful bright floral designs, and then on the back side you have your background print. So I used this print, and I cut my flowers out of this print. So it's just the designer series paper. It is the beautiful butterflies here. I did use the stylish shaped dies for that banner. I used the same rectangle dies that I shared with you earlier. Whoops, I'm going to bring these back in. Hopefully nothing topples. These are the Textured Notes. I believe that's what they are. I want to make sure. The Textured Notes dies. And I cut out the flower from the designer series paper. Paper here, paper here. I have Daffodil Delight in Crushed Curry for my accent color there. And I did Crushed Curry here. And as I mentioned, the card base is Daffodil Delight. Or maybe I didn't mention that. But this is also a fun card. You could go on and on with all your different products and create different cards with this fun fold. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold this month. I hope this video was helpful for you to be able to assemble your project. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I appreciate everybody who selects me as their Stampin' Up! Demonstrator when you place an order. And I want to just say thank you for that. And reach out if you have any questions. Take care and happy creating.